Hi, I'm Reba Hervis, Artistic Director at Overshadowed Theatrical Productions.
And I'm Rebecca Leland.
Welcome to this week's episode From the Wings.
From Boston!
We came for one very specific purpose, and that is, she beat me to it. This musical reunites Kristin, Chenoweth, and Stephen Schwartz, who you may remember was the lyricist and composer for Wicked, which is obviously my most favorite musical ever. And then Showboat second. There will be a quiz later. And actually, he has that same job title here. He was the lyricist and composer. And we will talk about how that plays into the musical in just a few minutes. But what happens with this is it's really kind of a rags to riches story. It's based on a Netflix drama. It was a documentary of Jackie Siegel. And it was talking about how they were going to build this palace in Versailles in Orlando, Florida. And the play opens up, and they're in the midst of all this construction. Then comes along 2008, and in that particular time, there is a reception, and basically he has to sell, liquidate, puts this home on the market, doesn't get to finish it. And then the documentary comes out on Netflix, and all of a sudden she gets a little bit of a rise to fame again. And then it goes on to how it affects her family and how they recover. And that's basically it in a nutshell. They keep talking about how it's not old money that they have, it's new money. And they sing a song called American Royalty, which is also very interesting, I think. Just the whole philosophy of they do it because they can. And that becomes very much of a theme that they say from setting this up in the beginning, where it ties it to the things that were going on in France with the royalty in the Palace of Versailles, all the way to now.
Modern day.
Jackie is now saying, well, we do it because we can. And David, her husband, is doing it because they can. So, first of all, since we're there, let's talk about the plot of the story.
Yeah.
How did you like the main, just bones of the story?
Yeah. I thought it dragged.
Yeah.
Personally, I thought I surprisingly liked Act 2 better than Act 1.
Oh, we're so different.
Okay, this is gonna be so fun. I felt like it didn't build until very near the end, when then I thought it started building, and I started actually caring, because there were some pretty big plot points that happened that I didn't actually care about, because I wasn't into the story. I didn't feel for the characters, I guess. I felt like I couldn't really grab a hold of the overarching story. I felt like it was kind of flat.
I love history.
Okay.
And I love to read biographies, and I love historical fiction. I was fascinated to know about this woman and this guy. In fact, I couldn't wait to get out of there to look them up and find out if it really is, if it exists, and what happened, and do they really do these things. And so I think that's why it grabbed me more. So since I kind of mentioned it, let's talk about the music.
Okay, can we talk about the music?
Let's talk about the music.
What happened? One of the first songs, so hopeful, me and Reba look at each other, because it almost had the same melody as a song from Wicked.
And actually, I think I said "Wicked" much or something.
And in my heart, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be good. We're here for this." And then when I tell you, it went downhill fast.
Yeah.
Some of those songs, no joke, it felt like they were written by AI, and I don't say that lightly. Specifically the daughter's songs. Yeah. She never sang one song that I enjoyed. I loved the idea behind the song. I could imagine, poor Steven sitting down being like, I'm going to write a song about this. You're like, oh, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
And then he went to AI and said, hey, write me a song about this, and that's what came out. And I'm trying to be gracious.
That's sort of being nice, people.
I hated it.
Did I hate it? I don't think I hated it, but I didn't enjoy it. I cannot begin to express to you how disappointed I was that he was not the genius as he was in Wicked. I've seen rags to riches stories before where it gives you hope and you're like, yes, that is amazing. I am with your struggle. Yeah. But this one was so over the top. He didn't have the material to give you something powerful. I think the story behind Wicked, the reason I like it so much is it's that underdog of that political power trying to corrupt magic for its own good, so much so that you sometimes have to do something that puts you in a different state frees you from that control.
Yeah.
And so it has a lesson, and it's not like the pretty princess doesn't end up with the handsome prince. It's different, right?
Yeah. It felt like he didn't find the lesson, and so he wasn't inspired.
Yeah.
And I think that is true to art.
Yeah.
Just because you did something incredible, like with a Kristin Chenoweth and a Stephen Schwartz, it doesn't mean you can replicate it just because you want to. And I think they tried, but I think he definitely fell short.
But there are some other redeeming factors. Kristin being one of them. It's
What
like,
did you think about seeing Kristin Chenoweth?
Oh my goodness. It was so amazing. She, I believe, will be the reason that the show is successful if it is.
She's this saving grace. She's like this. You can't really mess up with her.
Yep.
You can have her be singing songs that you're like, what? But you're like, but it's Kristin.
Yeah.
Because she didn't make a vocal mistake, I would say. I would say there were moments, and we talk about later with like acting, that she may have made some like line mistakes, but vocally,
Oh yeah,
killed
it was really interesting to hear somebody stumble over lines as much as she did.
Yeah.
I've never, but I mean, it is pre-Broadway, so I don't know how long.
Yep. It's almost like she's human.
Yeah, it was great,
Isn't that interesting?
and she did it very gracefully.
She did. And she would like make it part of her character.
Yeah.
But you knew, but it was also like, it's our secret. It's okay, Kristin, we did it. You didn't notice.
I do that all the time. I stumble all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. One of the things that we've talked about recently is technology going to play a part in future of theater?
Yep.
And we had talked about all the ways that technology was adding to it and the things that we just saw
Yep.
in New York. And this one does the same thing. It is just spellbinding.
For the entirety of the show, the backdrop is the house.
Yep. In
being
construction.
built. Like literally, I would say for 75, like 80, 85%
And weird
of the show.
colors like
Yes.
navy blue,
Yes.
like whatever.
But at the
It's
end, like perfectly done.
white and gold.
It like gave me chills. I was like, whoa. Like, whoa.
Can we
How?
just talk about that moment? Because I mean, their stage must be stinking big to go very far back. I have no idea how
Just
big
like
this.
set hands and like how?
And noise. We were sitting pretty close. We weren't like first row, but we were sitting pretty close.
Yep.
And the idea that we heard nothing and
Yep.
they moved this whole big
Yep.
set and put this other one in its place.
Yep. Fantastic.
This is
Kristin,
amazing.
throughout the whole show, kept doing these insanely fast, quick changes. Like her very first one, you looked over and you're like, how did she do that fast? And then to have the set do a quick change that
Yeah.
I've never seen a set do before on the scale that it did it. And they had to do it on that scale because that's what the whole entire show is about.
Right.
It was about building the house.
Yep.
When it will be done, when is it going to be finished, and it has to be grand. So it's not only that they had to do it quickly, but they had to do it like magnificently, and they did.
And they did. They nailed it. I 10 on the set.
10.
So let's talk about costumes.
Wow. I thought they were incredible. And Christian Cohen, who was their costume designer, wow, like did their research into the Siegel family. Because even where they had Kristin Chenoweth dressed as Jackie and looking at photos, even from, there's a character that is a cousin / niece. And even like her hairstyle looked very similar to the girl in real life. And just the outfits, like, bravo.
It's funny because one of the reviews I read said that it's almost a parody on the way Jackie really dressed. So it goes right up to the edge where it's like, if you want to consider that it's making fun of the way she is, you can, but it's still realistic enough to make you fall in love with these beautiful costumes that she has, which are delicious.
Yes.
So now we're going to have a plot point that I don't know that we want to give a lot of details to.
Trigger warning for sure.
But there is definitely a trigger warning. There is something that happens in Jackie's and David's life and the way they raise their children and the way their children see them that causes a tragic happening.
Yeah.
So out of that tragedy, Jackie and David decide to start a foundation to raise awareness for this particular event.
Yeah.
I'm trying to not give away too much about that.
Yeah.
That whole situation was very hard for me. How she just flips the switch. And they say that she started the foundation the day after this event when you look up and really read what happens in real life.
Yeah.
And she definitely seemed to just turn it off and turn it on. And I'm not judging, because maybe that was what she had to do to get past over her grief.
But it also doesn't seem like it.
But
right?
the play definitely makes it seem like it's like, okay, now everything's okay. And I think that's the reason we don't like everything about the story, because at the end we're like, but you have everything.
Yeah.
But you didn't care.
Yeah. It goes back to, what's the story of your life?
Yeah.
And if this is, if your life was made into a musical and it ended up being like this one, that's pretty rough.
It leaves you sad.
Yeah.
It really does.
Could you rate this show 1 to 10?
It's really difficult because of the elements, and I'm going to trust that by the time he gets to Broadway, it's a little bit better. That's what I'm going to trust, because there's a lot of really great things. But you can't change the story of who Jackie really is, right? So
but we're not mad at that part. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, we like the story. We like what they wanted to do.
Yes. So overall, what would I give it? I think I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Wow. Okay.
6.5, I think. Because I did like this. I thought certain things were brilliant.
Yeah.
So.
I thought these were so brilliant, but the music threw me so off, in the sense of I literally, there was points where I said I could have written a better song than that. And
I couldn't.
And I'm not talented. I'm not saying so. Like, honestly, I think I would give it 4.5, and I think I'm excited to see what they do with it and where they trim parts and where they add, because I think it could be amazing. And I think it's a story that is so worthwhile telling, because I left being like, I cannot value money over people. Like, I cannot value giving people things versus loving people, especially like the idea of motherhood and what is that, and how do you provide for your children, and just having Christ first in your life, because Jackie didn't. And so I want it to be good. I think because the story deserves it and could be powerful, the parts that really lacked, because you're like, wait, this could be so good. And like, for the set's sake, make it a good show.
So if you ever come to Boston, make sure you check this out. If you follow the road of the Queen of Versailles places, let us know how they've trimmed it and how you like it. And we just are so thankful that you come along our journeys with us. Thank you so much for following us and liking us and for sharing our channel with us. Until next time, this is just me
And me.
talking to you from the wings.
From Boston.
From the wings.
From Boston.
Oh, talking to you
From the